I want to have this discussion with somebody who really knows what they're talking about when it comes to the NBA.
What are you trying to say?
No, I'm not saying anything about you. All right, we're talking about former NBA coach and general manager and now a Turner Sports NBA analyst. It's none other than Stu Jackson. Stu, welcome to the Odd Couple.
Hey, guys, thanks so much for having me, man. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
and let me, when Stu coached the Knicks, I was one of the beat writers back then in those days. Stu, remember?
Stu, how was he? How did you? Did he get on your nerves? I'm sure he did.
No, he didn't get on my nerves. He was very professional, very knowledgeable, and he killed me, Chris.
Oh, that's what he does. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what he does.
Hey, Stu,
you know his motto.
If I'm writing, I'm ripping. That's my
Well, Stu, let's get right to it. I saw your tweet last night. Breaking news. I'm reading it now. Breaking news, 3-bomb. The Brooklyn Nets and Houston Rockets have just collectively attempted 100 3-point shots in the game. This 3-point shooting epidemic needs a cure. Hashtag competition committee, hashtag NBA, hashtag basketball caretakers. I'm with you, but tell me what you meant. Like, what sparked you to send out that tweet?
Well, actually, Chris, it's something I've, talked about on air. I've talked about it on my podcast. And last night sent me over the edge. When you had two teams combined with over 100 3-point shooting attempts and half of all the shots taken in the game, understanding it was an overtime game, it's getting to be too much. And I feel from a basketball standpoint purely, the 3-point shot as it relates to the game is at a tipping point. I say that because I don't want to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. Listen, scoring's up 4 points a game over last year, and it's the highest jump in a one-year jump in 20 years. Okay? The NBA is in its golden years. Fan support and enthusiasm at its all-time high. It's an exciting shot. I get all that, but we've really lost a major parts of the game of basketball.
I agree with you. It's the game is hard for me to watch in current state. There's not a lot of defense going on. And then, Stu, there are some things where you talk about fan support and whatnot where we've seen the ratings, and sometimes it's been blamed on LeBron moving to the West, but the TNT ratings are down 26%. ESPN's ratings are down. Are people, I know people still come to the games, but are they enjoying these high-scoring, lack of defense games?
Well, I think the proof will be as we go forward here, Rob. I mean, we'll see. But I think it's incumbent upon the NBA to be proactive from a rule standpoint to maybe try to alter the way the game is played. And what you're alluding to is that are we not watching a game that's very homogenous?
Right.
Everyone plays the same way.
Right.
Except for maybe, Memphis, except for maybe San Antonio at times, but every team, every offensive scheme seems to be the same. It's handoff, it's cut, it's pick and roll after pick and roll, or in the case of Houston, a lot of unassisted threes where we just dribble in to 3-point shots. And I just wonder from a spacing standpoint, from the aesthetics, from the number of variety of plays that usually occur in the game, if we're just not seeing something that's the same all the way around with every team. And that's my issue. I mean, look, the 3-point shot is a great shot. It's exciting. But do we have to have it the entire game? And my suggestion has been, why not do one of two things? Cut the 3-point line off at the corners. Just have an arc at 23-9 across the court, and you have no corner three. Or just make the 3-point shot a scoring three at certain parts of the game, Chris. Rob, maybe at the last 2 minutes of each quarter, maybe at the last 2 minutes of each half in the overtime, but something to bring some variety back into the game of basketball.
I love your first point. It's something I've been saying as well. Basically eliminate that corner three. And I think what that would do, Stu, for the listeners out there who might not be thinking about it, that would necessitate the return of post play and the mid-range shot. because you wouldn't be able to plant 4 guys on the 3-point line because it would only be so long, right? So you would have a variety of offenses and ways to score now.
Correct. And I still think even with the arc, the spacing would still be the same. In other words, you'd still get a space floor that's available for cutting and driving and penetrating and dishing. But at least it would add that not only the low post game, but give some credibility to a mid-range game as well. And, not being able to shoot that corner 3.
Right. It's the Odd Couple. We're joined by former NBA coach and general manager and also longtime worked for the NBA in the front office of the league, Stu Jackson. Check out his podcast on iTunes. It's called Everything Basketball. Everything Basketball. Stu, are there other people, like you said, caretakers of the game? I don't want you to name names necessarily, but are there other people as concerned about this as you are? Because like you said, ratings, I guess maybe ratings are a little down, but the game is as popular as ever. I mean, it's just growing by leaps and bounds. Are they just happy with that, or are there really people that feel like, look, we have to keep an eye on this and maybe make some changes?
I don't think, anytime that the NBA, and I know this from experience, makes a strategic move with respect to the game, there has to be a business reason connected with it. And right now, there's no business reason to get rid of the three-point shot for all the reasons we just talked about. It's exciting. The ratings are up. The stands are being filled. But I just am trying to, alert people that we got to get out ahead of this because I love the NBA basketball. We're in a great time in the game, but at some point, do fans, educated fans, get to a point where they go, it's the same thing, they're jacking up threes, they're running around, the perception is no defense is being played, they take a fast break, and instead of going to the rim, they step back to the corner. I don't know if that's the best thing for the game. As a fan, I would say that. So right now, it's not an issue. I'm just saying, as someone who loves the game, do you get out ahead of this and maybe do something a little bit more strategic and interesting in terms of adjusting the rules?
And we know how it goes in sports. All these leagues are copycat leagues, okay? So the Warriors have success. They see it. Everybody decides. But everybody doesn't have a Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, right? Everybody doesn't have those players, but yet they still play like that, whereas before you would have the Knicks had a different style, and the Pistons had a different style, and the Phoenix Suns played differently. You know what I mean? You played with what you had, and that's what you're right, Stu. We don't see that anymore, and it stinks.
It does. And guys, let's you bring up a good point. Let's switch sports. Tell me you don't watch the NFL right now and think, man, everybody just
throwing the ball up. Yep.
And they throw the ball every down.
Right.
For me now, I don't know football. I'm a casual football fan, and I sit there and I go, man, this is kind of boring, man. Everybody does the same thing. And I don't want to see that happen to NBA or collegiate basketball.
Yeah, and you mentioned baseball, it's all home runs and strikeouts. A lot of this is the analytics.
Right. The analytics have really altered sports now because things that they used to do, stealing bases in baseball and bunting people over, they won't do it.
Right.
It's a home run or nothing.
Yeah, but here, analytics are great. I think they're great at proving a point or disproving a point. But, Steve Kerr said it the best, guys, with respect to the three-point shot, is that, yes, from an offensive efficiency standpoint, the three-point shot is a more efficient shot. But he said, look, the more twos that you score, in other words, when you shoot a higher percentage, that just means you don't have to defend the fast break as much. With threes, you're shooting a much lower percentage. And now defensively, you're defending the fast break more.
Right.
But if you shoot a higher percentage shot, you're defending the fast break less. And he said his preference is to defend less fast break. And that's why the Warriors, as much as they shoot the three, they're one of the best mid-range teams in the league.
I was going to say, I'm glad you brought up the Warriors because people think they just hoist threes like Houston. No, they get backdoor layups. They shoot mid-range shots. they don't shoot the three nearly as much as people seem to think they do.
No, perception there is not the reality.
Right. Well, Stu, great stuff. We really appreciate it, and I'm with you. I think the league has to really keep an eye on this and get out in front of it. So great job.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
And Stu, you were very lucky that you didn't have Chris Broussard as a beat writer when you were coaching, so it all works out.
Why
I
is
wouldn't
that?
have ripped you as much as Rob, I'll tell you that much. All right, Stu. And remember to check.
Hey, Chris.
Yep.
Chris, I never got a public apology from Rob when I was in New York.
Right. It's apologies are in the air,
That's
Kyrie.
right.
Go ahead,
All right, Stu. I'm sorry
All right.
that I ripped you when I was writing, because usually when I'm writing, I'm ripping. All right. Thanks, Stu.
All right.
And remember to check
Thank
out
you,
his
guys.
podcast, Everything Basketball. You can download it on iTunes. Thanks, Stu.
You got it.
All right, bye.